From the Arkansas Sports Network, it's an in-depth Arkansas Razorbacks podcast featuring the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brad Caldwell.
When I grew up, I remember the Quinn Grovey days where the SWC champions in 88 and 89. I mean, that was the time that I grew up. That's the time that I got hooked on Razorbacks.
Around here, we call him the Rain Man of Arkansas Razorback Sports, Mr. Duran Miller.
Real quick, speaking about going down to Baton Rouge, and all the corn dogs and all that nature. But y'all remember the time Bobby Boucher intercepted the quarterback and his pants fell off?
And finally, he wears his hair upside down and he pushes all the buttons, Mr. Bill Harshaw.
When you look at the Razorback athletic program across the board, Hunter Yurichak's got this thing moving in the right direction because these kids are looking at Arkansas athletics going, hey, Arkansas is the place to be, and we haven't had that in a while.
Everyone get ready, because you're now connected to the Razor Wire.
And welcome into yet another episode of the Razor Wire. I'm Bill Harshaw. Joining me as always, Brad Caldwell, Duran Miller. And guys, we have a full show for you. We got a good interview with former wide receiver Drew Morgan. We're going to bring that to you a little bit later. Hot off the Razor Wire, we're looking at things like Kevin Kopps, D1 Baseball National Player of the Year. So Kevin Kopps continues to bring in awards.
He does, and he's up for the Golden Spikes Award. I know that people had said the Dick Hauser Trophy was like the Heisman. I've always heard that the Golden Spikes was like the Heisman. So maybe baseball has two Heismans, and maybe Kevin Kopps wins both of them.
He definitely should, in my opinion. If you give it to anybody else, there's no credibility to it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
if he's second team All-American on your list,
yeah,
I don't even care about your list anymore. That's insane.
Exactly.
Who does that?
What
second
about
team reliever?
randojoe.com, baseball, college baseball player of the year and All-Americans, and Kevin Kopps may have had the greatest season of pitchers ever had in college baseball history, and he makes second team All-American. I mean, second team All-American is not a slight to anybody, but it is to Kevin Kopps when you had 13 wins, 12 saves, and less than a 1 ERA.
When Chuck Norris is asking for your autograph, you're kind of a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. Of course, Golden Spikes Awards are going to be on July the 14th, and he's looking at some big time awards coming from that. But even despite of his Golden Spikes projections, he's draft concerned. He's got a little bit of concern in the draft. Brad, what were you reading about Kopps possibly projected the second day?
Second day. I think that Kopps is going to be drafted somewhere around the 10th round, which puts him in the middle of the draft. They're in 20 rounds. Concern is his age. And I just think that, I don't know, it's crazy that you're 24 years old. First off, how old is that, right? And you're too old to be drafted when you might have had the greatest season in college baseball history when it comes to a pitcher. I mean, I feel like that managers and GMs are probably outthinking themselves a little bit on this situation. Maybe I'm wrong. I think that Kevin Kopps is a guy that you probably want to take a little bit more of a flyer on than a 10th round pick.
This guy had Tommy John surgery, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and about three. Well, I guess, was it his second year that he had it? So he's been there so long. I guess it's like 17 now. It's been about 4 years.
Yeah, 17, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, that right there, he's already been reset. I feel like that increases your longevity for a while because, a guy that hasn't had that, that could be any second now. So, and it doesn't mean you can't get it again. Of course, that does happen. But I feel like he's in about his prime right now. And I understand like you said, they're outthinking themselves a little bit, but I believe he's a double-A pitcher at least right now. I really do. The guy can touch 95, 94 all day long if he wants to. I mean, he has got plus stuff. And, of course, he's got one of the best pitches that college baseball's ever seen, and especially in the last couple of decades. So, I mean, I can maybe get it that he drops a round or two, but not anywhere close to 10. I think that's insane. It shouldn't happen. Right. If he goes below the fourth, I think it's just a shame.
Well,
What?
well, just to touch on this real quick, I mean, a guy that wins the Golden Spikes Award and all of this other stuff, you're talking about a guy that's usually drafted in the top 5, 10 to picks, every time. I mean, go back to Andrew Benintendi, he was drafted 7th. He won the Golden Spikes Award. I mean, maybe I'm going out on a limb here. I almost say that Cops is even more of a sure thing than what Benintendi was. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that at least the maturity level of where he's at right now, you would feel like that he would come in and have the work ethic that he needs. I feel like he's already shown the talent that he needs to have. I mean, I feel like he's a surefire big leaguer at some point, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's
Well,
exactly what I was thinking, Brad, because, a lot of these kids coming out of college that are being drafted before they even graduate, they're one concern that a lot of teams have is that, what are they going to do off the field? Are they going to get a hothead? Are they going to get in trouble with the police? What kind of personal issues comes along with being a young kid? Well, Cops isn't a young kid. He, like you said, Brad, he's mature. And we know from his personal record that he's an outstanding guy. He's the chaplain of the team. So I think his head's in the right place. And I think if anyone is less risky, it's Cops, because he's going to have the right mindset going into it.
well, talking about the young kids coming straight out, until like Clint Eastwood, Amy Adams, and Justin Timberlake have seen you, be able to hit that curveball, you can't go wrong there. Like Cops, I guarantee you they approve of him. The dude's done everything. He's shown what he's got, and I agree with you, Bill.
Well, it sets things up. You look at the news and you got the name, image, and likeness thing going on. It kind of sets things up where Cops could be looking at the draft going, that's a little lower than where I wanted to go. I'm going to give college another go. And I'm going to use this name, image, and likeness to my advantage and start looking out and say, hey, who wants to sponsor? Look at all the beet juice people out there and say, one of you is going to come to me.
Beet juice. I mean, honest to goodness, this is like perfect. Like whoever's running the beet juice brand, Kevin Cops. Hey man, you want to do this? We got 50 grand for you to come in here and peddle beet juice to Arkansans at least, right?
Right.
I think it's a great opportunity. We're already seeing guys like Bo Nix be able to sign these name, image, and likeness deals. What tea brand was it, Durand? Do you remember?
Milos, however you say it.
Yeah.
Sweet tea. Yeah.
So,
or sweet.
So on day one, Bo Nix, the Auburn quarterback, gets not even a great quarterback, by the way. He gets a $20,000 deal with Milo Sweet Tea to do name, image, and likeness branding there with them. Just basically, I don't know if he's going to do like full out commercials or just post on his Instagram or whatever it is. I mean, this is easy money for these guys. I feel like they should be able to make it, but I feel like also it brings in a lot of possible issues with it.
Exactly. I mean, we got guys like JB Hunt. I can see Kevin Cobbs driving a truck. Come on, get on the truck. Let's go. We're coming back. They need to give him some money. If I was a huge donor, you know what I'm saying, and I had the money, huge Razorback fan, he doesn't go where he thinks he needs to go. He's not getting that money he wants. I have no problem shilling it out, if you're in that situation. But
I mean, Cops could use this as a leverage in the draft.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe helps his draft stock. I don't know. I mean, he's 24 years old, so he's already got a master's degree. I mean, the guy has got all the education he needs. He doesn't have to come back to Arkansas, but does he use it to his advantage? I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're in uncharted waters right now when it comes to this, but there's also issues that are going to be coming with this, including locker room issues with guys who are getting the $20,000 deals to the other people that are not getting them. And I mean, let's just be honest with this. This is only for a select few. This is not for the third string lineman. And then what happens with the third string lineman? Do they get disgruntled, say, well, coach is not playing me, I'm not getting those deals like all this other one? Of course, it just makes it even worse when it comes to transfer portal and all that mess. And it really just sets up a Wild West type of situation in the NCAA.
Exactly. That was my biggest concern going into all this was, I wish they had some type of parameters, and it doesn't seem that way. It's just a free for all, to where, like in my opinion, I think it would be cool and it might work better if you had all the people that got a contract off their name, image, and likeness. You know, let's say Cops gets 20,000, he comes back, whatever. You know, KJ Jefferson, you know, let's say he gets 50,000 for something. All that money together, spread it over your 450 student athletes in the program. You know, because right now, Jane Doe over on the tennis team, she's not getting any money. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, you know, unless she's just like an All-American just showing out. You know what I mean? She's not, and then it's probably not going to be that much, possibly. You never know who's in the tennis or whatever. But, you know, I feel like that would be more beneficial because, like you said, Brad, you know, that's going to bring up, there's going to be so many locker room issues because your left guard's getting 100,000, your defensive tackles getting 50,000, you know, and or your right guard isn't making as much, and they're going to dispute over that. It's going to be a nightmare at times.
Yeah.
So it's going to be crazy to see how it all works out.
I don't know if it's as much that as it is that your quarterback's getting 50,000 and nobody else is getting anything. You know,
Right.
the starting D-back is not getting anything. And what do you do in that situation? You can I don't think that you should be able to throw it into a pool and then spread it out, because that's what got us into this situation in the first place, was that, well, nobody can get it because everybody can't get it. Well, the problem is now what they're saying is you can't work and make money because everybody on the team can't make money. And that's what got us in the situation where we're at right now. So I don't think that we should be pooling money, because that's why we're here. That's why we're here in the first place.
Then you start looking at things like, you know, as broadcasters, if we want to have one of these guys on the show, is he going to want to charge us for using his name, image, and likeness on our podcast? And so, I mean, this thing could snowball. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways that you could look at it. You could look at it in terms of sponsorships, targeting athletes of one specific school alone, and versus, you know, spreading it out. I mean, what if Nike came in and said, you know what, we're only going to sponsor kids from Oregon, and, you know, I don't care who's playing at Alabama, we're not even going to look at it. Those are the type of issues that sooner or later they're going to have to be hashed out, and I think it's going to get ugly if it's not sooner than later.
And I think that that's a prime example. Exactly what you're saying right there. What kind of advantage does Oregon have because Nike is there in their coffers? What kind of advantages does Arkansas have with Walmart and Tyson up the road? I mean, it's very possible that Arkansas has now taken the next step because there's more money at Arkansas than there is at Mississippi State, who just won the national championship in baseball.
And if it turns out that way, that's going to be a huge recruiting tool. And, you know, that's going to bring a kid that otherwise wouldn't have came to Arkansas. So, I mean, we could benefit out of it, but at the same time, this could be a mess.
And we haven't talked about the states like Florida and Texas that don't have sales tax, you know, I mean, if I go to school there, I don't have to pay the same kind of taxes on it. You know what I mean? I'm going to make more money. So all those things play a factor in this, and it's definitely the Wild West.
I think it has to be said as well that these athletes on this level, so I feel like that we have to exclude maybe the Arkansas States of the world, maybe the Division II athletes, you know, that sort of thing, and let's just look at the high Division ones. Okay, there has been some sort of thought right now that they have been mistreated in some way. They've been compensated. They've been being compensated by the full cost of tuition. There's no real cost to these guys. I mean, to the fact that they could even eat for free if they want to. Not only can they eat for free, but they have a chef preparing their meal. Now, if things are so rough for you, do you have a chef? You know what I mean? They get free clothing, they get free shoes, they get all of this stuff, and not including the ability to get an education for free. And then not only that, but as obviously with the Arkansas, to be set up in positions where you could go work up the chain faster than other people can because you played for the Razorbacks. So, I mean, there's all kinds of advantages already. And now here we are saying, well, we have to do this because think people are not being treated fairly. That's not true. I don't believe that was true in the first place. Now, on the flip side of the coin there, you should be able to make money. Okay. As a player, whatever it is, you should be able to make money. It's completely un-American not to be able to make money off your own name, image, and likeness. I think that it's crazy to say you can't do this because everybody else can't. So it's just a crazy situation right now. It's a two-sided coin. And I don't know that there's any kind of real great solution. You just have to go with it and figure out what happens after that.
That's it. And I mean, this thing could get messy, could be, a lot of people are like, it's going to completely change the landscape of college athletics. And it could. But, Duran, you were saying it could be a whimper.
Yeah, I mean, it could come in a little, not as much of a bang as a lot of us think. But I will say, guys like Bo Nix getting a contract already, 20,000, does feel like it's a little bigger than I was kind of thinking. But because I mean, there's all kinds of people already, celebrities that do certain companies. There's already those public public guys that get money to do this kind of stuff. So I don't think it's going to be just insane where you're just like constant here and there. Like here's 100,000 for this guy, here's 50,000 for that guy. I don't think it's going to be that out of control, but I could be wrong. I mean, my little sweet tea come out of
contract soon.
Right. Oh yeah. It's going to always climb too. It's just going to get worse and worse. They'll be getting $1 million contracts in probably 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it might not be. This might take a couple years to really, really get on a completely out of same scale.
That's it. So any other comments you guys have on the name, image, and likeness before we move on?
I guess we're going to see what happens, right?
That's it.
It's kind of like going to Mars for the first time. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. We don't know. We've never been there. So, I mean, I'm
like
interested
a super regional.
I'm interested to see the first Razorback that comes out with the contract. That's happening soon. I mean, in fact, maybe as we're talking right now.
Right. And I feel like Arkansas is ahead of the class for most part, because we already set up this big NIL thing that they announced about a month or so ago, that all these corporations are involved in. And I feel like Arkansas is definitely going to be in the upper echelon of teams that are going to benefit more from this than not.
I think you're right on
that's
that.
Positive for us.
I agree with you on that. I think, with Arkansas having, Walmart and Tyson and all of the corporations that are associated with that in Northwest Arkansas, right next door to campus, I think that could only help Arkansas in the long run. But coming up next, we're going to take a short break. Coming up next, we're going to have a special interview with former wide receiver Drew Morgan right here on the Razor Wire. Stay tuned for that. And then when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about football after that. So stay tuned.
Welcome back into the Razor Wire. We have a special guest with us today. We've got former Razorback and newest Elkins High School football coach, Drew Morgan. Man, thanks for joining us here on the Razor Wire.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been, I guess, probably a little bit of a whirlwind for you. I think it's not really been a secret that you've been trying to get into coaching. And now you've gotten your first break into coaching. Tell us a little bit about that process and what's happened.
Yeah, so it's been a whirlwind. It's been about 4 years to be exact, for me to get my opportunity. My first year right out of Miami, whenever I was playing for the Dolphins, I jumped in with Rick Jones and Chris Young down in Greenwood. I played for them. I did what they asked me to do, but I did not know the system. I didn't know the Bulldog way in terms of working through administration to, your job as a coach with teachers and how everything kind of boiled out. And I really took that opportunity. I ran with it because I don't think there's a better place to really get in and learn from. So I took that opportunity, ran with it for a year, ended up winning a state championship. Talked to Chris, talked to Rick Jones as well. And I asked them basically, hey, is there going to be another opportunity for next year, or should I look somewhere else? And they said, well, you got to get certified. I was like, oh, I know, I'm trying. It's tough. I mean, it's not easy, especially when you're still working out and trying to get back into the league, being 24, 23 years old. So I ended up trying to put myself in the best situation possible. And that's when I got in touch with Casey Dick up at Fayetteville. So I could still continue to work out up there at the U of A, kind of stick around. Didn't know if a GA position would pop open, or if I could apply and see if I can get in that route. But we all know about 3 years ago, Arkansas was kind of, we didn't know what was up. It was we're kind of juggling what's going to be the next move. So I stayed in high school that year with Casey Dick, and we played an amazing year. It was his first year, and we got that thing rolling. Eventually didn't make it past Bryant, and that's 100% okay because they have been smoking everyone. Great competition level. Trained with Isaiah Satanga, got his routes right. I mean, I could really name off the rest of the receiving core. They've got an abundance of talent over there at Fayetteville right now, and I think the world of Coach Dick and those guys over there. Talked with Mr. Jansky, the AD, and basically he said, we don't have anything open right now, but in the future we'll let you know. Well, that's when Oklahoma, a school from Oklahoma, Warner, reached out and said, hey, you want to take over the offense? We predominantly in the past haven't been extremely hot, if I should say, and meaning probably have won a total of 6 games over the past 15 to 20 years. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I love a challenge. I'm all game for it. So I went there and actually got to take the reins of the offense, installed the split field RPO type game, pre-snap, post-snap read stuff. And I think the reason we did very well was because those type of defensive coordinators didn't really see that kind of offense yet. It was a whole different style of ball. Went to the third round of playoffs, got beat out by the champions. Paul Huska, the Pioneer woman. I don't know if you've heard of her, but Walmart, yeah, that's where her sons played, and they were unbelievable. Got humbled, I should say, in the third round. We got humbled, and that was kind of my first year and where everything took off. And then from there, it was just kind of like a proving point to myself that, hey, I think I can do this. I think I can. I mean, I still got a lot of room to grow. I mean, first year doing it was really tough. Had excellent support staff and administration that definitely backed me. But I just saw another opportunity elsewhere in Northwest Arkansas. And even at that classification school that I was in Oklahoma, I do believe that in this coaching world, if it's a lateral move, you need to stay. If it's a vertical move, you definitely need to move up. And I saw this as like a trampoline jump from where I was at. So this is a big move for me in my career and where I want to eventually raise my family.
They're in the coaching ranks. They're in Elkins. What kind of responsibilities are you going to have up there?
So I'm kind of right now, I don't want to know my responsibilities. I told him, I said, Coach Watson, who's an amazing guy, amazing dad, amazing father, Christ-driven man. We have a lot of similarities. I basically told him, hey, if you need coffee, let me know. I'll go get you coffee. If you're having a long road trip and I'm sitting in the car and I'm drinking a water bottle and you need a bathroom, I'm going to chug this water bottle for you, bro. Like, that's how this train's going to roll. And I told the admin, and I was like, I do not want this job given to me. I want to earn it. I want to show you what I can do. I want to get on a board. I want to talk football. I want to earn everything. I want the name to kind of play, the role that it's played in the past of, Drew Morgan brings the juice, all that stuff. That's great. But that was when I was a player. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you can't tell, I'm probably like 40 pounds lighter than when I was playing. So it's a whole different me when it comes to chalk talk. So my responsibility is really, I'm on offense. I'm on defense. I'm on special teams. I'm going to be working with 7th and 8th grade basketball as well. So I'm going to pull out some of my J's and see what I can do with that.
Oddly enough, I remember you as a basketball player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you played for a friend of mine, Coach Renner Reed.
He's at Lavaca right now, isn't he?
Yeah, man.
Man.
You played for him. I knew that guy. Let's transition a little bit into the Razorbacks, and you got a brother up there. He's pretty good, right? He's all right.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. He's got more tattoos than me. I'll say that.
Right. Well, he had an incredible season last year. What was it like watching that from the couch or the stands or however it was?
Oh man, well, every home game that they had, I tried to be there. It's tough with coaching in Oklahoma because it is a 3.5 hour drive. But since we lived in Fort Smith, it was a little bit easier. So I had worked a deal out with our head coach. We had an amazing head coach down in Warner, where I was at, where he was like, "Hey man, family's everything. You need to take care of your family." So every chance I got, I went up there, got to watch him play, and it was very surreal. Yeah, it's a different side of the ball. It's defense, but it's still the same motor. It's still the same drive. It's still a Morgan. Still has the juice. Still has the characteristics you want on a team that other people feed off of. And when I really got to just sit back and watch instead of taking Snapchats and Instagram videos and posting stuff, I just kind of put this stuff away, and I just kind of evaluated where he was, and he has done really, really well. And I think it's just the beginning, which is really, really scary, because I do feel like, and I mean, I feel this way about several of the guys on the team, but I'm only going to talk about my brother. But I felt like he and several other guys have been held back the past couple of years, and it really just it frustrates you as a family member, frustrates you as an alumni, and it frustrates you when you've been in that realm of, man, I feel like I'm being held back. It didn't take but 4 injuries for me to even get my opportunity, let alone Grant, his situation, and a couple other guys. It's like, yeah, it's tough. But the good thing is Grant has proven to that coaching staff that he's more than capable of handling that job on the field, and he's bringing along other people and also changing the staff's mentality towards walk-ons. And I don't think he really had to change Pittman's mind, because Pittman was that kind of guy. Pittman loves walk-ons. Pittman loves those guys that are going to go in there and grind for him. He doesn't care if you're a 5-star or 1-star. He wants guys that love to play for the state of Arkansas. And I think that's one thing Grant kind of really showed this past year.
Yeah, you were talking about Morgan, your brother, being more of the defensive guy. Is a little bit different watching that. But what about the interception against Ole Miss when he got that opportunity? Did you give him a lot of crap about that? Looking like his brother.
Basically, I said third time's a charm, right?
Right.
I said, you missed 2 picks with 2 arms, and then you catch the one with 1 hand.
Exactly.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, yeah, I caught a lot of one-handed balls, but I mean, with a torn UCL, I mean, come on. Wow. All right. You just had to prove he's tougher than me, I guess. I don't know.
How long did he play with that shoulder injury?
I know I played 8 weeks with my shoulder injury. He actually, his was his elbow. And that was, I want to say that was early in the season. And I don't know about you guys, but if you played baseball, or if you've ever done anything with your elbow, and you just ask all those pitchers, that UCL, that Tommy John, something, I mean, he can't throw a football right now with his left arm. Thank God he's right-handed. But I mean, that motion, I was like, okay, so when you tackle somebody, you're coming in like this. What happens if your arm gets pulled back? Well, then you just bite down on your mouthpiece, is what he told me. I was like, dude, no way. Like, I had to get like several shots in my shoulder just to go out there and play. Like, I mean, yeah, everybody's like, he's tough. Well, in reality, guys, I didn't feel anything. I couldn't feel nothing. And I know he didn't feel anything, because his was probably 10 times painful, let alone against the Missouri game. In the Missouri game, he had torn, I can't remember the ligament. I don't want to say it wrong, but he tore a ligament in his knee and then was doing rehab and was ready to go play TCU until TCU backed out and got scared. So what happened,
man? Unreal.
He's a tough guy. I mean, that injury in that Missouri game was nasty. The guy got on him and was being aggressive late after the whistle, it looked like to me. And
he freaking held him.
Back. Yeah. I was upset about it at the time. You know, I was screaming.
Hugging him.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about that injury that if there is anything to enjoy about an injury, was the inspiration that he gave the rest of the team playing through that injury. You know, he's out there one-armed and he's doing things that a two-armed person can't do, and the inspiration that provided to his teammates, I thought, was huge.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that, even though I have never done that before. But I'm going to take a little credit for that because, you know, my dad has always said, you make a choice, and you live with the choices you make. There's good consequences, there's bad consequences. I got hurt, not injured. Injured and hurt are two different things. But there's one thing that you'll know about the Morgans is an injury better cause death. Because we're not going to come off the field. We're not going to quit in a job. We're not going to back down from a challenge. And it really hit me hard whenever I was in that situation as well, where, you know, I hurt my shoulder and I could have easily said, I want surgery. And that, you know, I just considered myself hurt, took it one day at a time, and basically lived the example out. And being the oldest of the Morgan bunch, Grant, obviously looking up to me, I do feel that, yeah, he's tough, but if the example wasn't spoken into existence by my dad and set by me, then his, you know, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, the snowball effect. I don't know if it had played out the way it would, just because of how we were raised. But you look back at the team where guys were playing hurt whenever it was my sophomore, junior, senior year, when we were winning 8-9 games. Then you go back to this past year where, you know, they got some guys playing hurt. They start winning some games. It's all about toughness. It's not about the physicality. It's about mental toughness. The game is played between the ears, and I firmly believe that. And I think that it really helped that team as an entirety.
I don't want to get into bashing the last staff, so let's talk about the positives from this staff. What is it about this staff that they bring to the table that causes that kind of buy-in?
I think it's, I don't know what you guys might call the it factor, but I think it's the it factor. And a lot of people have questions. They're going to question, well, what is the it factor? The it factor is Sam Pittman. I mean, it's simple. I mean, yeah, he's first-time head coach. Okay, well, there's a first time for everyone. I think the fact that he's hired guys that are more experienced in that position or have tied in the NFL. I really do believe that it's just the relationships that they have with those kids. I know coaches in college have always been strong on, hey, you know, we're family. This is a good fit for you. If you've never sat down in a room with Pittman before, I really advise you to do that. And not just him, but Bryles, Odom. I mean, you name it. They've got guys and coordinators and assistant coaches that are in the top 5, top 10 of their category of coaching. Now, I really do think the name, the NLI, or is that right? The NLI?
Name, image,
NIL.
NIL, yeah.
NIL. That's right. Name, image, likeness. Sorry. I really think that also helps that coaching staff as well, because I mean, who doesn't want to go make an extra $30,000 in college? I mean, at Arkansas, I mean, that helps big time too. So I don't know. I think the coaches and what they've done over the past couple of years, I mean, I'm still new in coaching, so I don't think me telling them they did a great job gives them any credit, gives me any credit. I mean, I'm like learning from them and however they handle their situations. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say they're the best coaches ever. They're the worst coaches ever, because I'm still trying to figure out if I'm somewhat of a decent coach. I'm still figuring it out, obviously, but I would love to just be able to sit in a room with every single one of those guys and just pick their brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you talk about football being played between the ears, and I think you're absolutely correct. But, if you're on this coaching staff or even on, your team, what do you do? And what does Sam Pittman, what can he do to kind of get between those players' ears to make it click for them, to inspire them and to make them be better men and players?
So I have this philosophy. It's kind of weird, but I mean, I'm different. I'm a different guy when it comes to between the ears. I've never been the most physical, never been the biggest, fastest, strongest, the stuff that you can measure. I've always had the size of the fight and the dog mentality. And that is the philosophy of getting those kids to buy in. How do we get them to buy in? This is how we get them to buy in. You play football, and we're going to make the analogy of a tree trunk. Okay. Football is the tree trunk. You go in to play football, you water it, your sweat, blood, and tears, and fast forward 3 years and you have a scholarship. Okay. So after watering the tree and making everything kind of flow together, you're growing up that foundation, that tree trunk. Okay. It starts to sprout, it starts to get bigger. At the top of the tree, it has all of its leaves. If it's a real big tree like red oaks, then it's a good one. You probably got an offer from Arkansas. So what I tell those guys is, hey, you've grown your tree, you've built your foundation, you put all your heart, sweat, and blood, tears into football. Don't just stay at the base. At some point in your life, you're going to have to climb that tree and look at the forest around you, because if you stay on the ground floor and you look at the tree trunks, you look at the base, you look at just football itself, you're going to realize that you missed out on a lot of opportunity. Because if you go up that tree and you stay on top of that tree, you can build a little clubhouse, or whatever you want to say, on a tree house. There's a entirety out there. There's a world of opportunity for you just built off of football. And the kids that really grasp a hold of that, most kids are like, Coach Morgan's on some drugs. What's going on? I don't understand. But to be honest with you, that's what my head coach told me one day, and I twisted it around to make sense with the kids that we have nowadays. And I'm a living example. I'm a proof of that, where I'm a small town kid from Greenwood, Arkansas. I moved 20 plus times before I got to Arkansas. It was a crazy run through my childhood, and I just kept watering the tree. Next thing I know, I've got an opportunity to go to Arkansas. I go to Arkansas, the tree starts sprouting. I start climbing the tree. I can't grow it. Once it's done growing, it's just going to start sprouting a little bit. Now you just got to find your way out. And that was kind of my way out, was football. And the opportunities kind of present itself. And so when everybody else is like, does that even make any sense? It makes sense to me and the other 57 kids I have on the team that are buying in. So that's kind of my philosophy on the buy-in process. Is you got to get a metaphor or analogy to where those kids can grasp it. If you're just like, man, there's millions and millions of dollars out there, great opportunity, they're gonna look at you and be like, I'm still living under my daddy's roof. Like, either that or I'm about to go catch a bag in the streets, bro. Like it's that kind of stuff where, reality has to set in from a different perspective.
Yeah. Let's talk about the team as a whole right now. I mean, they surprised last year. I mean, you're talking about possibly the toughest schedule they ever faced in the history of the school. Nobody really expected them to win any games. In fact, the SEC stuck them with the two toughest team out of the East because they felt like they weren't going to win any games. They won 3, should have won 6, or could have, however you want to say it. They did. However you want to look at that there. What do you think that they're going to do as far as building on last year?
I think they're going to have the mentality of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Jocko's podcast, Jocko Willink, attitude of good, the mindset of good. I think if they just go in with that mindset every day, knowing that there's going to be a tough workout, knowing that it's going to be hard, have the mindset of good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go look up Jocko Willink podcast in quotations, and you type in good. And that's the mentality that I believe that, if they all have, they're going to come out on top. Basically, actually, I'm not even going to get into explaining it. I want you guys to go check it out. I'm not giving them a shout out or anything. I'm just saying, hey, you need to go check it out because it changed my life and how I see things. And I found it at an early age. And you're never too old, too young to go view this, because it'll really change your mindset on how you represent yourself, or how you present yourself and how you represent the staff that you're working for, or the company you're working for, or the community. But I really do believe that if they have that mentality going into it, there's really nothing that can stop them. The only ones that can stop them are themselves and the fear that they have. And really, if you have the good mindset or the good mentality, there's no such thing as fear.
Yeah, and that sounds like a lot more layered philosophy than John L. Smith's "Get Your Piss Hot." No,
It's hot. Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't have to play for him.
Yes, exactly. But no, that's awesome, and I love what you said about Pittman earlier about how he just got whatever it is. The dude is so genuine. And like you were talking about, how he brought these guys in that were so more experienced than him in head coaching roles and of that nature. That shows you something right there. There's a lot of coaches that don't have that. They're too insecure to do that.
Yeah.
They won't bring a guy with more head coaching experience in because he's afraid, this guy's going to make him look bad. So that right there is just one of the things that just shows Pittman has got this team set up and just doing things the right way, just building them slowly. Like that trunk, like you talked about, that analogy, it's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it's weird how everyone's like, but what is the it factor? What's the it factor that Pittman has? You don't know, because that's what's it. It's the craziest thing is like, it's his it factor. Like, I know my it factor, and the people that know me, have coached with me, know my it factor. But Pittman's it factor, I mean, it's like, how you gonna know? You don't know him. Like, it's just the people that are in that building that they trust, and that's the only ones they trust, and they don't listen to anything outside of those walls. But if they do hear this, hey man, y'all know that Pittman has the it factor, and period.
That's right.
What kind of pride did you take in the revitalization of the program? I mean, you came in, you were kind of part of the same process there. You kind of saw the program go up as you were there. It hit a lull and came back down. What was it like for you as an alumni to see that rise again and that pride come back in the Razorback tradition?
It's always really exciting to see how everyone handles adversity. I think adversity is an opportunity for a positive moment. And the guys that they had just recently hired, and Pittman just recently hired, I think those guys were built off of successful adversity moments. They were dealt some sticky situations, and they handled it and really ran with it. And I think that's just that. Really, on adversity, I think that's what that is, man. It's the craziest thing, but you always want them to go undefeated. I pick them undefeated every year because that's just my mindset. But the fact that they've had some tough years, the best is yet to come. And I don't even think whenever I was there, we were even somewhat good. Yeah, we won more games than they've won in the past 7 years. But like, if Arkansas would have just kept winning 10, 11 games and kept going, then you guys would have looked back at my year and said, man, what was wrong with your guys? Actually, you guys wouldn't even be talking to me right now. So it's like, it's weird how the snowball butterfly effect work out, but that's just how that goes.
So, I mean, you're absolutely correct as far as what Pittman is doing and looking ahead at Arkansas this year. What are your thoughts on how are we going to compete, not only in the SEC, but non-conference as well? What kind of system or what do you expect out of Arkansas this year?
I expect him to go into game one and win game one. I think they don't need to look ahead to game two. I don't think they need to go ahead and look at game three. I don't think they need to go ahead and prepare for conference yet. Yeah, have your installs and all that stuff in, but focus on game one, take it one game at a time, and everything will just play out. I mean, even you want to go deeper than that, take it one practice at a time, take it one class at a time, take it one meal at a time, take it one night at a time. it's comes down to the simplicity of focusing on detail and attention to detail. And if they can do that, I think they're going to be just fine.
There you go. It is a one game at a time mentality with the program, and I mean, we're not at a spot right now where we can overlook uh, anybody, and if you
Yeah.
do, you're going to get bit. I mean, I think we've seen that over a couple of seasons there, where you've got the Western Kentuckys of the world coming in and kicking your butt, and that was tough, I'm sure, for you and for your brother and everybody involved, how to have to watch that. So I know that the watching of the building of the program has got to be something that you're proud of. Let's talk real quick about your brother, and just personally, he's a 6-year guy. He came back. He's married. What was that decision like for him to come back and play one more time?
Oh, it was huge for our family because, a lot of us didn't get to go to the games last year. We have a really big family, but a lot of us weren't able to go to the games last year because of COVID and because of the restrictions. So yeah, he had an opportunity to go in the draft, but they projected him 6'7", and it was like, hey man, that's what happened whenever I was in the draft. It was 6'7". It was kind of weird. I think you have more in the tank. And he's like, I know I have more in the tank. I want to give everything I have to the state of Arkansas and this staff and this team and the leadership that, is needed. And I can fill the void. He's one of those guys where he's not going to say a whole lot. He's just going to go do it. And he walks the walk, talks the talk. He does it all. And he's just that bulldog mentality that you put a chip on your shoulder and go to work. And the fact that he got married and he's about to knock out his masters, it's pretty good. And we're very thankful for Sydney and what she does for Grant as well, and keeps him somewhat sane when it comes to his 6th year, which is kind of crazy because I feel like it's like year 10 for him. But if there's anyone that could classify as the oldest player in college football, it's him, no doubt.
Well, Drew, man, thank you for spending some time with us. We really appreciate you coming on with us, and I am sure that people are going to love the insight, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Anytime.
So again, want to thank Drew Morgan for joining us here on the Razor Wire. Really appreciate that interview, and what a great guy.
He was awesome, man. That was a fun guy to talk to. I'm obviously not surprised by that. Love the insight that he had about his brother and his brother's situation there at Arkansas, both with this staff and with the previous staff. I think there was some insight there. Drew didn't want to get too much into predictions on this football season, though. We tried to get them out of him. He wasn't giving us anything. But, it's still an exciting time when it comes to this time of year. I mean, this is the last month that we will not have college football, and I mean, I could sit here and start singing It's the most wonderful time of the year, because it is. It's awesome. I mean, it's leading into fall. You've got football coming, both high school and college, which, we're all involved in. It's going to be a lot of fun here. And, we know the Razorbacks are improving. And that's something that I'm looking forward to.
I think it comes down to the 4th of July, Brad. I mean, you're sitting out there and you're grilling your burgers, and, the kids are maybe playing on the water hose or whatever. And, sitting next to you, you're going to have that cold iced Kool-Aid. And this is the time of the year that everybody starts drinking that cold iced Kool-Aid. And it sure does taste good. And I know it tastes good when I've been drinking it, ladies. So I'm looking forward to football season. I mean, we're looking at this. I remember spring game. KJ Jefferson had some bright spots. I think we got something, we have a ton of people coming back. Grant Morgan, one of them. So I think we have a lot of talent on this roster, and Sam Pittman continues to align himself next to really talented and, experienced people.
Yeah. And I was actually going to say something about Kool-Aid. You stole it from me, but it's got to be that Razorback red color, that you're mixing. You got to get it all mixed up. But guys like Grant Morgan, man, he he kind of reminds me of Kevin Kopps a little bit. Now, Kopps, I mean, Morgan's already proven he's already all SEC and all that. Kopps had never done that. But getting those guys to come back for that 5th year or 6th year, it can really help your ball club out big time. And I think he's going to improve his stock. I know he's worked on whatever the pros told him to do. Maybe his speed, it seems like, is a point of an emphasis, getting a little quicker. But what can the dude do with 2 arms this year? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, that's going to be impressive if he can do 100 and whatever it was. 12 tackles a game when he was healthy. That could be really impressive. Him and Bumper Pool. I mean, Bumper Pool kind of got forgot about a little bit, even though him and Morgan have always been. Bumper Pool's usually a little bit ahead in tackles, and then Bumper gets hurt a little bit, and then Grant just goes to another level last year, and they're right there neck and neck. And I think Bumper still had over 100 tackles, and he only played like 9 games. I mean, it's insane. That guy's a junior now. I mean, he's him and Morgan. That solidifies definitely in the run game 100%. They got to work on their pass game a little bit, but I'm excited, man. I'm definitely drinking the Kool-Aid for sure, and we'll talk about it some more.
Every year about this time of year, your team can win the national championship. Everybody feels that way anyway, right? Before a game is ever played. I mean, Arkansas is not winning the national championship this year. We're gonna have to wait to start paying players a little bit more before we're able to do that. But what do you got?
Well, speaking of the Kool-Aid, y'all know the train guy from Eddie from Clarksville.
Yes.
So I work with Eddie, and we both work at Walmart DC. And I remember a few years back, we were talking about, it was Chad Morris's 2nd year.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know. So this is going to get worse. I'm going to lose all credibility with this next thing I say.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we're sitting there, and his coworker that works in the same department as him is an Alabama guy for whatever reason. I think he lived there at one point or something. I don't know. I really don't even. I just block them out of my mind for the most part. But anyway, so we're sitting there talking about the Razorback schedule and the potential. We got Burks. He's got another year in his offense, and the quarterback situation and everything. And we're like, that's a win right there. That's a win. This is a could be a wash. But I think we had us at 7 or 8 wins. Is a very big possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Western Kentucky year that we won 2 again.
Right.
So that's just a good example of the Kool-Aid talk right there. And so go ahead, Brad.
Drink the Kool-Aid right now and say that Arkansas is going to win 7 or 8. I mean, that's kind of drinking the heavy Kool-Aid there. We'll see.
Should have done that last year. Should have won 7 or 8 last year.
Well, I mean, 6 of them against the toughest SEC schedule, or toughest schedule ever in school history. They could have won 6 pretty easily. So, I mean, it gives a fan a hope. I mean, there are questions about this team, mainly at the quarterback position, but boy, they've got a lot of answers too. I mean, this is going to be one of the deeper offensive lines that we've had in quite a while. That's big. That's a feather in our cap right there. You've got running backs and wide receivers coming back. I mean, you wish that Mike Woods would have stayed. That would have made the wide receiving core much deeper than it was. Defensively, you bring back like 20 starters. I mean, if you had an answer at quarterback right now, you're probably talking about a team that's going to be picked in the upper half of the SEC West. Without it right now, you're probably looking at a team that's going to be picked last in the SEC West again. But at the end of the day, I think this team's got a chance to surprise some folks, including the second game, September 11th against Texas.
That's the one I'm looking forward to. Win or lose, as far as the overall season goes, we got to beat Texas.
Definitely. I mean, that one's the one you want really bad always. I'm still mad over that Matt Jones fumble, and when they come back to Fayetteville back in, what was that, 02 or 03? I'm going to say 03, and might have been 04. I think it was the 04 season, because we beat them in 03, 38-28. Anyways, that game, man, was still hurts. We played them since then. We beat them in the Houston Bowl or whatever, the Texas Bowl in Houston. And but talking about the players we got coming back, and like you said, the line, man, it is. Since Pittman left, I feel like this is going to be the deepest and the most talented line we have had, and a line that is ready to go. And I feel like we're going to finally see them kind of hold their own this year, and it's not just be a stalwart, because last year they did have their moments, but I really think it's going to be special this year. My biggest concern would be on the D-line. Replacing Jonathan Marshall is going to be big. I do think we got some guys in place like Isaiah Nichols. I think he's changed his body a little. He's going to do some good things. Eric Gregory can play inside and outside. So I'm excited.
Outside of quarterback, probably the biggest question on the football team is how we're going to get a pass rush. I think that we've got a chance to be a pretty good defense unless we just can't generate any kind of pass rush. Every year we feel like, we got defensive ends here and there that are going to make it. I'd like to see Soley step up and be at that type of pass rusher that we're looking for. But I'll tell you what, man, I feel like that with Odom on the defensive side of the ball, what he did with that defense last year after coming off the 2 years of how bad the defense had been, I think it's only up from there. And of course, you've got guys like Bumper Pool, Grant Morgan. I mean, think about this. Arkansas always has questions at linebacker, and you've got two studs there this year that there's really no question about. And who knows what's going to happen. But I think that our defense, Jalen Catalon, is a guy that is, top level. They're talking about Catalon being a possible draft pick this year as a redshirt sophomore. I hope we get to see him one more year. Somebody needs to pony up some money, give him some NIL money. But anyway, I want to see this defense take the next step. I think you've got people in place. The big question is going to be quarterback. What do you get out of that position? And we don't know right now.
That's the biggest question for me. And, I'm waiting to see a quarterback step up, and I'd love for it to be KJ Jefferson. I've seen glimpses of him in previous seasons. He looked really good in the spring game. I think backup looks pretty good. But I want KJ Jefferson to have the type of season that in a couple of years, when NCAA football comes back out, because the name, image, and likeness is back out, I don't have to replay this season with KJ Jefferson and they have him rated poorly. I want KJ to have a great season. We need somebody in that position to step up.
Well, what you hope for is that KJ Jefferson has a great enough year that he's not even on that game, and you've got somebody else coming in here that is just as good or better. I mean, that's really what you hope for. But I mean, Jefferson's got a lot of tools. He showed some moxie against Missouri last year. But let's also say that Missouri's defense was pitiful last year. And I don't know that you could hang your hat on what he did against Missouri, except that they were an SEC team and he was thrust into a rough situation and he played pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, when we found out, we didn't know that day until right before the game that the other quarterback wasn't going to play, and Felipe Franks. And dude, I was like talking about, man, well, there we go. Like he's not ready. He doesn't have the experience, and he played. I mean, I don't know if we are as close as we are. Maybe we were. We'll never know because Franks didn't play, but he was phenomenal in that game. We didn't lose that game because of him. We lost it on our defense that day. But the dude showed touch. He continued to show touch in the spring game. And what I'm the most excited about with him is he's really the first true running quarterback we have had that's going to be a starter to start the season since Matt Jones.
Matt Jones.
I mean, this dude. Think about it, guys. When we play a team that has a guy like that, how just it's so tough when you're on 3rd and long and you got everybody covered. He just takes off, and gets that big first down. To have that, and the dude's a beast. He's 240 pounds, and he's got that Tebow likeness where he can just really just roll over you. There's going to be a lot of quarterback dive plays, things of that nature, where you're spread out. You might have 5 wide, and he just takes off up the middle. You get the number situation. I really feel like Browse and them are going to show a lot more of the RPO game than we've seen. We've always talked about it. Morris, RPO and RPO, but they didn't.
They're not ready. They're not ready.
You didn't really have you don't have to have a running quarterback to truly execute the RPO game. But when you do have one that can do both, it opens everything up. Because most of the time in the past with like Ty Story or whoever, most of those reads were true. They weren't true reads. We're really handing this off every time. We're not really faking this run around the end. We're not really reading that in or that outside backer or that strong safety coming up. Now you've got to actually do that. The dude can really pull it and go. And I mean, I'm excited about that. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to make this offense really, really good. And if we got a typical offensive line, the Pittman top guy, the road grader top that we've seen in the past to go along with a guy 6'3", 240, and you got the running backs, we haven't talked about Rocket Sanders and all the other guys. I mean, sky's the limit. I think offensively we could be really special this year, especially you got a Traylon Burks outside. You got to worry about him. I mean, big things right there.
Oh, for sure. I think that I'd like to see a little bit more of the fast KJ that we saw in freshman year.
Yeah.
He didn't show that kind of speed last year. I don't know if it was because he wasn't there. He's gained too much weight, whatever it was. It just wasn't there for him. I want to find out if we can see that quicker version of KJ, because that's the guy that we need to see to be able to pick up that 10 yards, to be able to outrun that linebacker, that sort of thing, for us to, I think, be in a position to have the kind of offense that Bryles wants to have.
Right.
Yep.
Well, he did
And-
have one play in the spring game where he took off, where it was kind of one of those where they're about to sack him and he takes off and they didn't blow the whistle, and he outrun the angle on I want to say it was Grant Morgan, but it might not have been. It was a linebacker, and he looked good on. Now it's a linebacker, okay, but still he showed with that size. I think he's a true 4'7", 4'6" guy with that size. But
And
I got what you're
anytime-
saying. Get a little faster, he can be better.
Exactly. And anytime you have a true running quarterback that makes the quarterback respect that run, then they're going to have to put somebody in a spy position that's going to take away and pretty much dismantle any type of secondary adjustments that they have to make to contain him. And so anytime you have to make adjustments to contain one guy that throws off the rest of your defensive balance, that's going to open up the passing game right behind it.
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff has remained to be seen. We'll see what happens. I mean, every bit of it. Everything we're talking about today is we'll see what happens, I mean, if you get good play out of KJ Jefferson, there's no reason why this team can't be good. I mean, really, at the end of the day, unless they figure Barry Odom out on defense, and I feel really good about the fact that this defense is going to be able to create turnovers at the very least. I think that you've got an opportunity here to be a 6, 7, 8 win ball club again and kind of get this boat going in the right direction. You know what I mean? That's one thing that people don't consider always, is that maybe we are talented enough to be 7 or 8 wins, but we haven't won enough to know how to win to get there.
It's a lost art. It's something that Arkansas has forgotten. There was a time when we knew how to win. It's been a few seasons, but I think we can get back to that, and having all of these guys come back like Grant Morgan is going to do nothing but continue to give those guys under him a little bit more time to learn and develop, as well as instill with them that winning tradition, that winning culture that they are creating here. And so I'm really glad, Grant Morgan came back, and all of these other guys that are back for another year under Sam Pittman.
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys like Grant Morgan, you remember that clip from last year. It's one of my favorite things since Drew Morgan was playing. And, it was the whole, got to bring the juice. Grant Morgan, that clip they played where he's telling everybody, he's talking to him, he's being a leader out there. And he's like, if you don't love that, hey, get the out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of guy we've got. And then to couple that with Pittman, let's look at, like Morgan was talking about that earlier in the interview, that it factor. Pittman has that it factor. You remember when how bad the year was before? You remember when we beat Mississippi State? We ended that, whatever it was, 20-game SEC losing streak. In the locker room, what was one of the first things he said, besides turn up that jukebox, right? One of the first things he said was, we didn't need nobody but the people that came down here with us, the people right here in this locker room. And that's right there from the start. What was he talking about there? Was there a lot of talk under Morris? Because remember, there was a big separation in the locker room where there was the guys that were the experienced guys, the lettermen coming back, and then Morris and them were big on recruiting, and they did do some good recruiting classes. And it kind of felt like, they were like the forgottens, and it was all about these young guys. And I think Pittman understood that, and he probably heard it from players that he, had interviewed and experienced being with the team at that point.
Yep.
and he kind of putting that together.
And all he was telling him
Right.
is, look, we don't need somebody else to come in. We don't have to
That's
recruit
right.
somebody
We're ready
to do
right
your
now.
job. You're ready. Let's do it. That's what Sam Pittman was saying.
Woo!
I stand behind it.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited. He's got the it factor. We've got the right guy up there. And nobody thought that after the Morris failure, total dumpster fire, that's what we were gonna get Pittman. We thought we'd go get for a big shot, but we couldn't have got a better hire. I'm so excited. The guy wants to be here. He's a hog. And if you don't love that A, get out of here.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's going to be our episode this week for the Razor Wire. Stay tuned. We'll have more Razor Wire coming your way, hopefully next week. And join us next time right here on
The Razor Wire.